Hello and welcome to another Mr. Betabyte video, and this video is a little bit different insofar as we are looking at a Toshiba V9600 Betamax, of course, and I have very fond memories of these machines insofar as I worked on a lot of these, a heck of a lot of these, and sort of late 80s, early 90s. And this is what really got me into repairing consumer electronics. The ripe old age of about 14, the local TV and video shop was throwing these out. Basically, they rented a lot of them out to the local community, and obviously Betamax was no longer really the format by the end of the 80s in the UK. So a lot of machines were coming in and being swapped out for VHS machines. So rather than sending them to landfill, I was taking them and playing with them, and I ended up actually selling quite a few of them, having serviced them and checked them through, and helped me get through college actually. So very fond memories of these machines. I absolutely love them. And I know maybe they're not a Sony. I mean, they aren't a Sony. The quality is not there really with the picture quite the same way. But having said that, the results are very, very good. I ran one for a number of years and loved it. It's a basic machine, no remote control other than a wired remote control. And I have actually bought another one, and that actually comes with the wired remote, which is just pause. But yeah, a nice addition to have. So this machine I bought off eBay. It's very quick delivery, great deal, and the only real issue that is known about this machine is that it's now dead. The seller powered it up, it went bang, lots of smoke, and that was it. So knowing what the power supply arrangement is in this machine, it has the wrapped capacitor, filter capacitor on the main side, and that would have gone bang. It's also been in some moisture, so there's a bit of rust on the top, a bit of rust underneath, but that's fine. That'll clean up, and it should be a very presentable machine if the rest of it is okay. You also have the manual, which is actually quite nice to have. And back in the day, when I was about 15 years old, I actually totally rebuilt one of these machines. And when I say totally rebuilt, the lot, the looms, put it on a scope. I borrowed a scope because I didn't have a scope at the time. I was only 15 and they were expensive. Borrowed a scope, and I remember spending a couple of nights just going through every single adjustment, giving it a complete clean. It was like a brand new machine when I finished with it. And that machine actually went on to a friend of ours, kid, who used it to record TV programs, whatever, and ended up actually taking it apart and learning how everything worked, and totally wrecked it. But I just thought it was a really nice end to that machine's life. So yeah, it's sad that it's gone, but on the other hand, it did years of service. I used it for a while, then I sold it in the mid-90s, and it was used for another couple of years, never gave a problem, and then he decided to learn more about it and wrecked it basically. But that's all good. So without further ado, let's crack on. So this machine, like I say, very fast delivery, and it came via my favorite courier, which is UPS, and in true UPS style, it's damaged, and it was well wrapped, but basically something had been dropped on top of the box, or the box had dropped in sorting, and it has popped the lid. But I'm hoping that's it. The rest of it seems fine. No plastic's broken. That's always good. And yeah, it's just typical UPS. I dread anybody using UPS, especially around here. So every single thing I get via UPS, especially in mid-Wales, it always arrives damaged, or the box is really badly abused. So it's just bad news. So anyway, let's take it apart. So we know it's dead, which is fine. And there are a few nice things about this machine that I really like. Lacquer belts. For its age, it dates from, well, the manual says has a date of June 1982. So it's about that sort of age. And was available for a couple of years. So it was quite a popular machine, really, relatively. And although, having said that, I've actually struggled to come across any. I repaired one about 2 years ago, which I subsequently sold, which was a really beautiful machine. And after I sold it, I really regretted it, to be honest. I wish I'd kept it, because these machines are quite special to me. Just because of the memories of working on them for hours and hours as a kid. You know what it's like, you know, as a kid, you have so much time on your hands. So, yeah, you can really put in the effort. So, it smells Fausty, and as you can see, that filter cap has gone pop. So I'll change that, and change the fuse as well, because no doubt that has gone bang, and give it a test, I suppose. Just realised I should have filmed taking this apart, but it's fairly straightforward, although it is a bit of a fiddle. So first thing to do is remove this metal plate, it's one of these screws, and then you need to take the timer clock board off, which is for self-tappers, this type, and remove the mains input and on-off switch portion, which is another self-tapping screw into the plastic there, and this will lift up. This will give you enough to sort of get to that capacitor, but to get it out, it's fairly involved. I mean, you sort of have to, as you lift it out, you have to unplug the connectors. I mean, you can see I'm pulling that one quite hard, so I'm going to unplug that, because I don't want to damage anything. What's interesting also is how it's degraded. From what I remember of these machines being so solid, you can feel the fragility is there in the plastics more, and yeah, it's quite interesting. Just, I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's sort of, what is it, 50, how old is it? 40 years old. So it's coming up to 40 years old, this machine, and it's not surprising it's going to be a little bit tired. But on the other hand, it's just like, oh, I remember when. So yeah, bless it. So covers are off, they just unclip. But can you spot maybe a bit of an issue, and why I'm now slightly worried about this machine? On the fuses, somebody has wrapped wire, I don't think that's even fuse wire, around these fuses, and that is always bad news, because if there is a short, if this is shorting, although that should be okay, but still, it's not ideal. Just don't do it. The characteristics of the wire are nowhere near the same as a fuse, and it's just going to end in tears and breaking more of the power supply. So yeah, just don't. Parts have arrived. I've got fuses, Not all of these are for this machine, but still. I've got the filter caps, and I also have here, I've dug out the belt kit, and an idler tyre as well. Now these are from a seller in Germany. He's really, really great, and even when I got the wrong tyres, he was absolutely brilliant sending just another set of tyres over, which were correct. So I will try and, if he is still selling these idler tyres, I'll put a link in the description. I'm not sure he is. It's a German seller, but absolutely wonderful. I highly recommend him, so I'll put a link there. The capacitor, the 47 microfarad 50 volt capacitor from here, this actually checks fine, so I am quite happy to reuse this. I was just a bit concerned because there was some residue on the top of it, and I'd wondered if it had maybe vented for whatever reason, but it tests fine, and it's actually really good. It's reading a little bit high, which potentially maybe could be a worry, but the other readings are good. So yeah, I'm going to put that back in, and we'll give it a test. So yes, let's crack on. All back together and giving it a bit of a clean as well. I've checked the diodes that are off. The fuse that blew right down the bottom here, just seems a bit odd that that fuse blew. It really shouldn't have, just from the mains filter cap going pop. Of course this one would. Also cleaned the plastic. You can sort of still see the marks from where it went bang. And put it all back together, bit of a clean up. And so the next thing is this terrible plug. As you can see, the cord gripper's there, but it's not actually doing anything. So place your bets now what the fuse is going to be. I bet without a shadow of a doubt it's going to be a 13 amp. So let's have a look. It was really badly corroded. I had to hack off the top, and not only has it got a 13 amp fuse, but it's got more wire around it. It's just like, why is that such a good idea? Unbelievable. So yeah, it's that's going in the bin. Moments of truth. Will it work? I've got it on the variable power supply, so we'll wind it up. So that's dead as a dodo. I did put on a new plug. So I suppose we need to look at what... Oh, I haven't plugged in a connector. Oh, honestly, I missed one right at the bottom here. I missed the transformer one. I've also missed one down here, and I'd forgotten I'd taken that off. That is the problem when you sort of take something apart, then leave it for a while, and then come back to it. You think, oh yeah, it's just like a couple of connectors. It's no. You did a lot more than that. So yeah, that's a top tip, isn't it? Just make sure you actually do check you've put everything back that you took off. So yeah, I'll pop that on now. Right, so I've put that connector back on. Just taking the top off and remove the timer section again, just so I can lift the board up enough to push it back on. So let's try again. Let's see if it will go bang. Oh, we've got clock. So we've got a dead digit. Well, that's annoying. That's a bit of a shame. It could be possibly buttons are a little bit poorly. Could just be a bad joint. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I really want to change the LED array just to get the clock to work. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, let's try tape. I half expect this to go terribly, so I'm using a tape that I don't mind getting damaged. Oh, see already, that's not good. And, oh, pinch roll is mouldy. And it did get a bit of a rough ride. So, well, it's trying to work. No wind. We'll rewind. But mode is working. It sounds a bit noisy deck wise, but it's fine. And I've got no capstan at all, which probably suggests the belt has popped off. I would like to get an idea of what the picture's like, so I suppose we'll plug it in and just see what happens. Put it in pause. Yeah, so I've winded it on. So yeah, let's see what it's like. Well, I get nothing at all. I mean, I can stick it into picture search forward, and it does nothing. Play obviously does nothing. Belt's obviously popped off. It has to be that. So pause, nothing at all, even if I make sure the tape is relatively tight around the heads. So possibly we've got a head problem, or we've got something else. One thing I do like about these is they do have the video in and out connectors on the front, and they actually go behind a door. Slides across, which is quite cool. But yeah, so I think the next thing is to change the belts. And just for the fun of it, let's press eject, because you know what's going to happen, and it's going to be nasty. Oh. Yeah, we're definitely going to need some belts, aren't we? So let's get these belts changed. Now, first of all, I'm going to take out the front loading system. So, see if I can remember how to do this. 2 screws. Here. Then lift this up. And then there's a tab on each side, the front. And you just push them in. And that should come free. But what I did forget was you also have to take the base off. Then that just comes away, like so. Yes, so you can actually get away if you just want to remove the front without taking all of the base off. Just undo or snapping off these 2 screws here and this one, and the front will actually just sort of unclip. It's just in little locating bits of plastic there. So yeah, you can get away with doing that if you just want to take the front off and you can't even bother to take the base off. So, but the first thing is let's have a look at the belt underneath. So I think, or I seem to remember, it's just 3 screws. There's some interesting debris here as well. Let's push the whole board back, pull it back, and there we go. Oh, it's the belt. That debris is the belt. You can see here that it's well and truly, it's actually gone dry. And you can see there the remains of the belt. So I think what I'll do is I'll just scrape that off, give it a clean, and then we'll put a new belt on. Just slacken this off. Get this removed so we can get the belt in. And you can also see that it's much easier to get to the lacing belt as well, so we'll do that in a bit as well. Ooh. Tiddlywink. Okay, I'll get that cleaned up now. So that's back in. It still is a little bit marked. You might just be able to see a few marks on it here and there. Unfortunately, what had started to happen is the remnants of the belt had started eating away at the alloy, and the spindle on the end of the motor here was also a little bit corroded, a bit green, so I've cleaned that up. But yeah, this has been in the damp at some point, obviously. I mean, it's got mould on the pinch roller, which I have cleaned, incidentally. It seems actually okay once I cleaned it, but I will try and change that in the fullness of time. I need to find one, though. I think I have got one. But yeah, so let's get the belt on, and we'll change the loading belt as well, and we'll take it from there. So there we go, that's on. Oh, it's worth noting as well, between the base of the shaft and the chassis where this capstan goes in, there's a plastic, small amount of white plastic. There's a spacer. So if you do take this out, just mind you don't lose that bit of plastic, because things will not go well. Okay, so let's have a go at this loading belt, or lacing belt. Loading belts on the front loading system. So belt. Apart from it running a bit untrue, there we go. So that's on, but with very little finesse. It was awful way to do it. But yeah, I've done it. Super. So what I'm going to do is put the back, the base PCB back on, and then we'll attack the top. Time to change the belts on the top and the idler tyre. Now, say the belt's on the top, there is actually only one belt left to change, which is the loading belt here, the front loading system belt. The lacing belt is already changed, so we've done that. And but we do need to change our idler as well and give it a bit of a clean under there as well. So it's actually quite easy to get access to everything that we need to. There are 4 screws, one here, might be able to see just about somewhere, one there, so one there in the black plastic, and then one there. So let's do that now. There is also an electrical connector, which is there. So I'll just pull that off. And we do that all rather unceremoniously by pulling the wires, but it's fine. And what I tend to do is, from memory, I used to just leave them in. So I used to, even though this is a magnetized screwdriver, I will try and leave the screws actually in the actual front loading system. And just drop it back on, tighten them up, rather than sort of worrying about screws falling off a magnetized screwdriver and knocking against stuff and whatever. And that one there is actually quite tight. So we should then be able to lift this off. And there is, as you can see, a connector. If I had 2 hands, I would just take that off as it came off, but obviously I don't, so I have to do it a bit clumsily. So there we have it. Yeah, one belt I always forget is the tape counter belt. Goes through to here. We've got the idler there, so I'm going to take the circlip off and lift off the clutch, and then lift off the idler and put the new tyre on. So let's see if I can try not to lose this. And there it goes, flying into oblivion. Find that in a minute. There's actually a little washer as well, so just be aware of that. That washer is in the middle of the idler. It comes off. There we go, so there's the tyre. So what I'll do is I'll give this a clean and a bit of a re-grease, and we'll take it from there. So in order to change this belt, you have to lift the spool, and that's a little bit tricky insofar as there's one of these plastic clips. Now these plastic clips are fragile at the best of times, and bearing in mind that this is getting on like old, 40 years old or so, the plastic is going to be brittle to say the least. So what I do is, I'll do it on this one because I want to clean underneath anyway, is just get one of the clips and just sort of wiggle it free in the hope that it doesn't break. Just sort of put it round. There probably is a tool to do this. It's a little bit trial and error. You just have to go a bit careful. This one does not want to come off. Yeah, so I'm sort of releasing each clip as I go around. Oh, there we go, it's popped off. So that's come off fine as well. So I ended up actually with that one just releasing each clip. So you get one off and then push through another one, and it pops off. Just don't strain it sort of up too much. and it should be okay. A sleeve going down over them that's just big enough to go past this would be the ideal way to do it. So you can just push out the clips and lift it off. But yeah, I've done it the bodgy way. All cleaned up, and well, largely anyway, it's a lot better than it was. When you take the spools off, you're left with this on the supply and this on the take-up. Belt goes round a sub pulley that locks into the spool, and what I've done is I've given them a very light lubricate with a tiny bit of silicone grease, just enough just to creep into everywhere to make it slippy. And yeah, just obviously be careful of losing washers and whatever, like I seem to have just done. And yeah, so I suppose the next thing is to change that belt and put it back together. New belt's on, and one thing I did forget was you actually have to remove this assembly here before you can actually get to the belt. So it's just 2 screws. It's easy enough to do, but it's actually quite a faff to change that belt. So I can see why a lot of people, when they were working on these machines, didn't change that belt. And at the end of the day, it is just a counter, but it's quite useful to have a counter. So yeah, it's all good. Found the shims. They are actually critical. They do set the height of the spools, so if they do fall off, just make sure you do find every single shim and make sure they're properly installed, and you should be good to go. So let's get this and pull that back so that can drop down. Magic. And then we need spools. So I'll just give those a clean. Okay, so I've cleaned up all the bits and pieces, and let's put the spools back on. So black is take up. Try and find where it locates, and it's great. And the white one, and it should just, that's it, either click in or just sort of sink down and clip on the top, and just squarely, I suppose is the way to say it, just press down, just gently, it doesn't take much, and it should click on. If you're pushing too hard, then you're probably going to break the clip and there's something wrong. So yes, and then put this back on. Whoops. Locates over these 2 ride heights. A little bit of a fiddle to get them on. There we go. So I'll just put the screws in for those. So I've greased everything up as well. Put the new tyre on. Looking good. So the tyre goes on, and this is a little bit of a fiddle because what happens is the assembly sort of rides up over the plastic runners, and it causes it to jam. So you sort of have to press it down a little bit to get it through these 2 bits of plastic, and at the back as well, it'll sort of just try and ride up. So yeah, just be aware of that. Then we've got the washer. We've got the clutch. And then circuit, which I shall put on. Oh, let's have a go. I was going to say I'll do it off camera, but What the heck? Let's have a go. I can tell this isn't going to go well. I have to hold the camera one-handed. Perfect. So that's it, that's good to go. So next thing is the front loading system. Now, of course the screws are falling out because I left them in. Which is fine. But I'll put those back in when I'm good to go. I don't know where the other one's gone. There we go. And I'll put some deoxit in those as well. So, the belt, there is a little clip here. You need to press that in and it'll release. Yeah, so just press down, using one hand to press down with the screwdriver and the other one's to pull up, and it just lifts off that way. Then you're left with this worm gear, and this should, yes, so you have to then take off this circlip, and then this will drop out. You can see here where it drops out, and then you can put the belt on. So I shall do that now. So it's literally just remove the circlip and this whole assembly comes off. There's no real alignment to it at all. It's got like a tensioned gear assembly, so it'll load up on when it goes down into the deck. Now I have seen these break off. This can be a problem. And I will clean off the grease. I probably won't do that in this video, but before, well, to ensure its continued reliability, all of this will be greased up. I will grease this up now and change the belt, so this just comes out. Washers each end, so don't lose those. Pop the belt on. And away we go. Old belt, new belt. So I have actually pretty much given it a good clean. I can see a bit of grease I've missed there. But that's fine. I'll just tidy that up in a second. And yeah, so let's get this back together. So belt's back on. Both washers are on as well on each end. Make sure it's running nicely. Cleaned up the worm screw gear as well, and put some lubricant on here. So put this back, so it went somewhere around about there. Not that it really matters, and it's a matter of lining up the gears a little bit. You'll feel when it's right to go. It's not, don't force it. No need to force it. And can I do this one on camera as well? This one might take a little bit more effort. Oh, there we go. So that's on. So yes, need to just put some deoxit on these two, and finally do a bit of grease on there, and we should be good to go. All greased up. All good to go. Switch is cleaned and worked. So let's just put this back on. It feels a bit weird doing this because it feels like it's going to go in a strange angle, but you've just got to get that peg there correct. And there we go, that's on. See the tabs located there. It will feel a bit loose, but as long as the little locating or locking tab is fitted, we're all good. So let's get rid of that hair. So I'm going to put this back in. I'm going to put the screws back in first, and then drop the whole front loading system down, and then we'll give it a test. It's all back together. Put some grease on a few other bits and pieces as well, and had a bit of a tidy up on my way back through reassembling this. I I just, honestly, sometimes you just cannot get the staff. When I was testing it earlier, I couldn't get any picture. That's because I was plugged into the audio in with the audio and the audio out with the video. It's just like, honestly, I've done so much work on these machines and I'd forgotten that, but it's what you're used to, isn't it, I suppose? And I just didn't look. It was just so automatic to do that. I just literally saw out, plugged in, not even thinking. So hopefully we might have a bit more success now we've got video out. So video in, out, video out, and audio out. So honestly, so yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we'll get a picture. So let's give it a test. So after all that, I've got a semi-dead unit, and it looks like I've got problems with the mains transformer. This has been in the damp, so I just wonder if possibly I've got a shorted winding somewhere. But here's a demo. Well, it's sort of working. I suppose we can give it a go. Let's give it a go. I can hear snow, which is good. I do partly wonder if it's just a reaction to the bad connection on my variable power supply. Anyway, let's give it a go. So, we've certainly got excessive take-up going on. I don't quite I don't actually know what was going on there. Oh, it's the tape. Tape's not brilliant. I know this tape is awful, but not quite as awful as it's looking. Let's have a look at it. So it's all looking pretty terrible. So could well be the heads. Wouldn't overly surprise me, but I do have excessive back tension, and I suspect possibly I've got a little bit of contamination on the actual tape path. So I don't know what's still like. Well, the still is not too bad. Oh, he says. Yeah, so it's not terrible. I mean, it's black and white, but that's what it is. So it is working. The wind and rewind are very sluggish, which I sort of half expect because the upper drum of this is pretty worn. It does need servicing and resurfacing, basically. And I've not cleaned the tape path properly. I've given it a quick clean, but nothing sort of thorough as well. But it does wind and rewind, although it's not brilliant. And it does play. You can see this is the slack detector. Yeah, let's check if that works. No, is the short answer to that. That actually needs adjustment, so the slack detector needs adjustment. That looks as if someone's had a go at that, so let's just adjust this back. Interesting. Somebody adjusted the slack detector to stop it from activating. Supposed to use a flat blade screwdriver, but what the heck. Let's get it somewhere near. adjusted that. There we go. So that is now working. Took a bit of effort. So yeah, so with that, I'm going to leave it here. You see the picture's awful. Pause does show sometimes that it may be not actually as bad as it looks. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I've got another V9600 that I actually bought while I was making this video. And that one's pretty much immaculate and also comes with the cabled remote control for pause. So what I'll do with that one is I'll do pretty much the same as this from a servicing point of view with the belts and everything else. But I won't show that in the video because obviously you've seen it in this one. And then we'll put them side by side, do some tests, get them up and running, and take it from there. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and please like and subscribe as well. Comments welcome. Certainly have to do something with that upper drum. It's really causing problems with the wind and rewind. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.